Oh, we're back. We're finally back. Jesus Christ. I've returned like Jesus Christ. Okay, the playlistification of music. One thing that's always weird to me about Venus Series videos, I don't know what's up with the resolution. For some reason, it's like extra wide compared to everyone else's videos. Like, I can't full screen it. If I full screen it, there's always this like little area. Okay, anyways, let's start this up.
Howdy doody, buckaroonies. My wife and I have been together for just over 10 years now, and every time
Congratulations.
we go to the store or something and get in the car, as part of her passenger princess duties, she puts on a Spotify playlist of whatever new music she's found lately. And over the last couple of years, I can't help but feel like a lot of it has started to just sound very samey. I don't think I'm alone in noticing this.
Is this just like a video to his wife?
Especially
That'd be epic.
with the rise of things like TikTok and Spotify playlists, popular music seems to have just become a lot more homogenous and predictable and reliant on these weird gimmicks, with some of it sounding like something I
I'm so sick of TikTok dances.
would sing with my infant niece.
Every time I see TikTok dancing, I become angry inside. Things start to shake. My vision turns red.
With really basic rhymes, these weirdly inserted countdowns, and these seemingly sort of paint-by-numbers melodic structures. But looking beyond that, I think there's really a problem with the crushing ubiquity of cheap music made as content. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. Today's video was made possible by my patrons. My patrons not only get exclusive access to things like courses on music production and sound design, along with presets, sample packs, and other goodies, they also get an exclusive license to tell Dale from accounting to go fuck himself.
That's a butt. That's a butt.
If you want to join and help support the channel to make future videos like this possible, you can do so with the link down in the description. I guess the question of the day here is really one of science. Has modern music definitively gotten worse, or am I just getting old? Granted, I'm 29, so I think I'm
Okay, we were talking, people in my voice chat were talking about how old he is the other day, and I was like, I don't think he's 30. They were trying to like argue that he was like mid-30s. I was like, I saw before he's like 29 or something like that. Go fuck yourself, Dale. He got married at 19, I guess so.
officially old and crusty now, but there have been some significant
Okay, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm older than you. And I'm not old and crusty. You're old and crusty.
changes in
How dare you?
music, largely thanks to, I think, the economics of streaming. In 2022, it was reported
This picture should be a lot bigger.
that 83.5% of all music revenue in the US came from streaming. Over the last decade, it's pretty clear to see that streaming, everything in green here, is the golden goose for income in the form of music as consumable media. As we all know, streaming services pay rights holders for each play. But the problem
Weaver 42, Weaver 68. Being married for 10 years will make you old and crusty. True. Maybe, yeah, that's why. You're right. I like that. I like that take. Weaver, are you 50 years old? Shut up.
starts to emerge when it's noted that all streams are more or less treated equally. If I'm streaming a 14-minute epic that some artist I love spent years developing and recording, it pays more or less just as much as streaming that viral 2-minute meme banger that some kid made by smashing trash cans in their garage.
I don't think Hudson Mohawk smashed trash cans in his garage.
This means that there's now a sort of financial incentive to produce more music that's shorter. In the last decade, this has become
That's true.
particularly pronounced, with the average song on the Billboard Hot 100
I actually talked about this in my TikTok video.
falling from 3 minutes and
You actually make the same amount of money no matter the length of the song. So you're actually more incentivized to make shorter songs because people can play more of that same song in the same amount of time. So let's say you have a 1-minute song and a 5-minute song. People can play that 1-minute song 5 times in the same amount of time that people will listen to the 5-minute song. It'll generate the same amount of money for one play, but people play it 5 times, you make 5 times the money.
50 seconds in 2013, down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds by 2018. This same trend can be observed perhaps more notably by looking at some releases from popular artists over the last couple years. This has really been a trend ever since the dawn of radio, so ultimately I think this is best explained by consumer demand. People just want songs that are short and catchy. Short music isn't really the
I don't think it's just that, though. I think it's also the fact that it's more profitable.
problem, though. There's plenty of music that I enjoy that's on the shorter side, because not every song needs to be 10 and a
Also, like when a song is shorter too, like I feel like a lot of people recognize this, that create music. People are more likely to play it again if it's shorter.
half minutes to get the fucking point across. The problem is this short music that seems to be so omnipresent and monotonous. And I think this is what we've really seen with the rise of TikTok and Spotify and streaming in general, because it's created this hole in music and shifted it from art to content. And I think this is the point where we really get to dive into what I see as the root of the problem here: the playlistification of music. If you've ever created a song and wanted to release it as an independent artist and get featured on playlists and different streaming services, you've likely used some kind of service like SubmitHub. Using these services, we can upload our song, pay for some credits to pitch to various curators, and then find a list of curators that would be most likely to promote the song based on their general preferences. However, if we take a deeper look, these are often very, very specific. As anyone who's submitted something on SubmitHub can tell you,
They don't accept anything.
you get denied for the most obscure and hilariously specific reasons. Because of the nature and function of curated playlists,
I'll link the video in the chat,
and the algorithms of platforms like Spotify or TikTok, artists are faced with an incentive to create music that fits into these very specific parameters like song length, structure, melodic content, mood.
They will like deny your song on SubmitHub for like the most ridiculous reason. Like I can't even think of one, like too many hi-hats or something like that. Not enough hi-hats. The dumbest. They're like so picky.
Instrumentation in
the BPM it's 1 BPM too high. No, I won't accept it if you change the BPM.
And placed into the playlists or parts of the algorithm that garner the most attention. This, I think, is what fundamentally leads to the homogenization of music as an art form, because diversity and creative experimentation really aren't encouraged. Instead, it's almost incentivized for artists to create things that sound more or less the same, that can be easily categorized and sorted onto the right playlist to provide the end listener with the most satisfying listening experience.
Yeah, I get what he's saying here. Like, it doesn't really... the whole idea of playlisting music and putting things in similar boxes kind of promotes this idea that you shouldn't make things that are unique anymore, right?
The other dark elephant in the room here is really just the simple supply and demand problem that exists with music. Because making music is cheaper and more accessible than ever, there's a lot more music out there than there are people who want to listen to all that music that's being made. So consumers are often likely to choose a streaming service or something like that that has an algorithm to assist them in their listening experience to find music that they might enjoy. The problem, though, with this training wheels consumer-assisted approach to music discovery is sort of twofold. On one side, this means that the algorithm will often serve up
just make more people,
more and more specific music that
at least they give a reason. Yeah, but it's a made-up reason usually.
It's more and more identical as the consumer's tastes become better known to the algorithm, leading to a sort of consumer.
I'm almost convinced that like places like SubmitHub are just like, it's like a scam. Like a lot of those playlists, like they're not even looking for people to like put into the playlist. They're just trying to get money, because like you make money off of people submitting to your playlist.
Burnout and dissatisfaction because everything ends up feeling and sounding the same. On the other side, consumers aren't necessarily encouraged or even directed to explore the lesser-known parts of these
How many songs are on Spotify? There are over 80 million songs on Spotify. Jesus Christ, dude.
Comprehensively large music catalogs, leaving fresh and more niche or lesser-known artists languishing in obscurity. The problem facing the artists creating the supply is also pretty similar. If you want to release your music and have it succeed, the best way to do that is to create stuff that's easily boiled down and digestible so it can be placed on the right playlist or featured in the right parts of the algorithm to provide the end user with the best and most satisfying listening experience. So that means creating stuff that's pretty samey but just different enough to warrant being featured there. As well, because consumers aren't being encouraged to necessarily explore the backwaters, it becomes a real risk as an artist to create something more experimental, as it might not be able to be nailed down enough to find any sort of realistic traction.
I feel like TikTok, people could still like find something unique and, enjoy it, and then maybe it gets traction there. But I feel like on Spotify, there's no way for unique or original music to like get any traction, because like what playlist are you going to put it into if it's something completely new sounding, right?
On most streaming services, a play really counts as the first 30 seconds of a song being played continuously. So what's an artist to do? Generally,
make 30-second songs. Make 30-second songs and get as many plays and as many stream counts as possible.
Speaking, we probably want to get to the goddamn point as quickly as possible and put the hook or the chorus right up front to be nice and catchy so that we can give the listener a reason to continue listening. Because a skip costs nothing and there's essentially infinite music to be explored, there's been exponentially more importance placed on this initial hook, and I think this is a large part of why so many popular songs start with this gross sort of "ooh, please make me go viral" edging tease of a chorus right off the bat. Combining this with the new modern viral attempt hit structure, a reliance on a level of melodic and harmonic.
Where's the chat? I feel like everyone's falling asleep. This ambient music has lullabied everyone in the chat to sleep. Maybe that's the end goal here by putting this ambient music in here. You need some coffee, guys. You gotta wake up. Stay awake. Don't let them get you.
The dialing down of instrumentation, delivery, vocal style, arrangement, and instrumentation, we land at the new world that so many music critics have tried to put a name to, with Spotify core, stream bait pop, Spotify lounge,
Spotify core,
and so on. This sort of starry-eyed, hazy, mid-tempo, understated pop approach with wispy vocals has become a staple of most algorithm-driven streaming and social media services. It's music that's designed to be inoffensive, consumable, disposable, and it's music that ultimately keeps the silent majority of listeners and consumers on the platform. This new sort of paradigm of the mass consumption of music as a product has led to this weird form of, I guess, what ultimately amounts to the endowment effect. We, as musicians and artists and the true artist archetype,
ended up in the Matrix. Ambient music got me. I'm going to sleep. No. Stay awake. Do I need to shake the camera? What do you want me to do?
Insanely frustrated when we see some gimmicky meme song.
Amaranth is on. No. Don't tell people that. Don't let them know.
Whereas we spent days or weeks or months or longer toiling away, pouring our hearts and souls into this music for it to flop and die alongside everything else on streaming services. And we feel that we're entitled to the attention that the other thing got because we simply worked harder and we're the true artist or whatever. And this leads to, I guess on the consumer side, what I would refer to as the bar gig problem. Because my wife and I live in the Nashville area, I can't so much as take a dump at a truck stop without someone being on a corner stage with an acoustic guitar just a strumming and a singing their heart out on all these bum me out songs that are super deep and meaningful to them, and then sprinkling in the odd original they wrote in between bouts of them begging people to follow them on Instagram. The thing is,
I feel like I rarely see that.
It's not that this person is a bad musician. It's not that the songs they're singing are bad songs. It's not that their own original songs suck. It's not anything about that whatsoever. It's that I probably came to the bar to eat hot wings and drink my fucking beer and not listen to you wear your heart on your sleeve for an hour and a half straight. I would argue that despite being a sample size of one grumpy mustachioed motherfucker here,
I'm just imagining there was some guy who saw Venus Theory at a bar recently and this exact thing happened. He's gonna watch this video and he's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck?
This is really representative of the more mass consumption of music. Not everyone is here for deep lyrics or innovative melodies or genre-bending artists. Not everyone is a musician with a more developed sense of musical appreciation and analysis and critique.
Love the background music in his streams, but my partner falls asleep anytime it's on, so maybe not the best choice for keeping people's focus. Yeah, maybe, you know what? I think I get it. He's trying to up the watch time by getting people to fall asleep while watching his videos. You know what I mean? You could hack the watch time that way. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. He's a fucking genius,
Weaver
dude.
sleep stream when?
Well, I mean, if we watch a bunch of Venus Theory videos, that might happen.
And not everyone really gives that much of a shit. Most people just want to listen to some music. It's this kind of music, and I guess this sort of listening style, that ultimately leads to this endless small vibes to be heartbroken to playlists on streaming services that have become 7 layers of cliche and cringe. Artists are encouraged by labels and more indirectly by consumers to deliver more of the same, and any kind of experimentation could lead to the ultimate punishment: being put on Spotify with everybody else. This isn't meant to be an elitist tirade against popular music on streaming services. I think it's more than evident that this industry of Spotify-friendly music exists for a reason.
Money.
It works, and that's what the consumers
Money.
want. That being said, and music being an industry, there is a financial incentive to focus on streaming revenue specifically, and whatever brings in streams is what's likely to float to the top. It's in the music industry's best interest to create stuff that does well on streaming services. It's in streaming services' best interest to find the music that does best with its audiences and keep them on those specific platforms. And it's in the audience's best interest to use a streaming service to sort this massive catalog of stuff into something that they're going to enjoy. And therein lies the sort of weird catch-22 of it all.
Imagine he actually talks about the price of bread here. Bread is too expensive. Inflation has fucked everything up.
Articles and papers I read through when researching for this video suggested Spotify and TikTok and all the other streaming services need to emphasize the idea of discovery in order to shift back to a more meaningful and innovative era.
We should do a sleep stream where you sleep and we control the loud sounds that play so you don't get any sleep. I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not doing that. Venus Theory could 100% have a side hustle of a sleep story time channel.
Of music. But I think most of the articles...
Like, listen, I don't have a lot of dignity, but I have more dignity than to do a sleep stream where people are just trying to wake me up the entire stream. Fuck that.
And papers may be seen...
I see that on TikTok, I'm like, you're fucking desperate, dude. You're fucking desperate.
...to miss the point of the idea here. Leaving it up to the consumer in terms of discovery, I don't think is really the best way forward, because I would argue most people are lazy and probably don't want to jump through a bunch of hoops to find new stuff. I know I don't. Instead, I think the better solution is an emphasis within the algorithms and playlists on tangential exploration and discovery to bring forward the...
How would an algorithm focus on that though, right? How would it know to focus on things that are more original?
...creative and innovative music? Because most people just don't know what they want until you give it to them. Most streaming services work on a few key data sets, things like mood, tempo, genre, instrumental or lyrical, and so on. But this creates the bread problem. The algorithm ends up saying if you like bread, then you might also like this other bread. And if you like bread, you might like toast. But eventually, you realize it's all the same fucking thing.
I don't even think it suggests toast.
Sometimes you want peanut butter on it. Sometimes you want a bun with a hamburger. And hey, have you ever heard about this thing called a pineapple? That's where I think the real solution is.
Let's slow down here.
The goal is
put that on pizza, right?
Sense of discovery and exploration within music. If consumers want to find new stuff, explore different things, diversify and develop their taste, and maybe even challenge themselves as to what they think classifies as music, that's absolutely possible, but the right stuff has to be put in front of them first. One of my favorite examples of this is Forgotify. It's a website that showcases songs that either have 0 plays or no complete plays on Spotify.
I'm gonna be honest, a lot of that shit, there's probably a reason.
And I've actually discovered some legitimately amazing music from artists I would have...
I'm not saying it doesn't exist, that there's not great music doing that, but a lot of it is probably awful.
...ever otherwise heard of. Of course, there are websites and forums and things like that for people to discover and recommend music, but I would argue most people don't really do that kind of thing. They're not going to go out to explore these things. They're not completionists. They're not audiophiles. They're not fetishists for how diverse their musical tastes are. They just want to listen to some music. So I think ultimately the responsibility falls on streaming services if the goal is to create this more utopian version of the art of music rather than the product of music.
Hard out here for a pimp.
I suppose that leaves us with one last unanswered question.
Oh yeah, there might be a cool few hidden gems, but I feel like the most of it is just bad music. Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
For the independent artists out there who really want to release their music as an art, what are they supposed to do about all this?
Delete.
What can they even do?
Delete.
The most obvious solution is just to say that streaming services and viral music trends and all that only exist because we as the artists are providing them a product, and they ultimately exist as sort of a middleman. If you want to sell your car, it's best to directly sell it to someone.
Also applies to well-known music. Yeah, but the thing is like a lot of times the music that has plays has it for a reason. Not all the time, not even most of the time, like maybe just a good amount of the time. And I feel like the number of things without plays, that the bad music would be a lot higher. Because there's so many people that just make complete, absolute nonsense.
To a dealership who in turn also has to make a profit off of their sale. Services like Bandcamp or direct sales from an artist's website are obviously the best way for artists to make an impact against streaming services. If we don't provide them the product, they have nothing to offer.
I don't think you're even making an impact though, unless like literally every musician pulled, or almost every musician pulled their music off of Spotify. Like there's just way too many artists for that to ever have any sort of effect. I think the only thing that could ever happen to a streaming service to like put it out of business is them not making money from their own downfall, essentially. Like how Spotify barely makes any money, that could be the downfall of Spotify. I don't think it'll ever have anything to do with artists.
Rosy as that may sound, I don't think that this is ever really likely to happen. Not being on the...
Why wouldn't the artists play their own music on Spotify even just once? Maybe bot uploads? Yeah, that's kind of weird. They wouldn't even play their own music once or even listen to it a little bit. I don't know. I don't really understand that either. Like maybe it's not literally 0 plays, but like very low plays, I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never used Forgotify, so I can't say. Should we check that out real quick after?
Services mean
I think yes.
You, as the artist, now have to do all the marketing and promotion and things like that, and it's highly unlikely that you on your
You always had to do that.
own would ever have a level of reach that's going to sustain a realistic career as an independent musician. Thanks to social media, though, it's not impossible, but it does come with its own ever insurmountable set of odds.
I'm guessing they mean some 1,000. Yeah, that would make sense because I don't think you can actually tell how many plays it has unless it has 1,000. That actually makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, Fele. 100% none of the big artists will pull from Spotify, and small artists are not big enough to make an impact. He said that it's 0 plays. I don't think he's right though. I'm guessing it's less than 1,000 because there's no way for it to tell how many plays it has unless it's like directly incorporated with Spotify, like unless they work with Spotify, because you can't see it on the front end unless it has over 1,000.
That being said, I do think that services like Bandcamp or even streaming things like Rune do a particularly good job at emphasizing discovery as part of the consumption experience in an intelligent way that feels like part of the process rather than a hoop to jump through. So maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel here for indie artists. I don't think that streaming services and algorithms and such are entirely malevolent, though. I think that as an artist, they're just part of it.
I feel like the only way for your music career is to try and promote your music, but 90% of people are just going to probably ignore it and it'll feel discouraging. Well, you have to promote it at least to get it like that initial push to begin with. A lot of like sometimes algorithms can help though. But the thing is like algorithm almost never help if it doesn't get that initial play to begin with. And I don't mean singular play. I mean like plays.
Have available. And perhaps the most pragmatic solution is the John Mellencamp approach. You work on some music.
Hey, that says John Cougar.
That would likely perform well.
Winamp with the subscription.
These services for the sake of getting discovered and building an audience. And then you can leverage that audience to release whatever you want to release, however you want to release it. I can't say in any fairness I could fault someone for taking this sort of approach. Even if your goal is just to sustain a music career on the Kevin Kelly method of 1,000 true fans, the truth is you're never going to get 1,000 true fans without putting your music in front of at least a couple thousand people.
Gotta put it in front of way more than that. To get 1,000 true fans. I don't even know if I have 1,000 true fans. Maybe.
On streaming services instead of releasing a bunch of
10 plays on Spotify for a sub. Deal. And that's what Rune is. Winamp with a subscription. Is it really? I have several things to look up right now.
On Twitter that it didn't get featured in the popular Friday playlist or whatever. However,
the bitching about your music not getting put in a Spotify playlist, that is some lame ass.
The danger with this approach does become pretty obvious. If you don't remember why you're making the music in the first place, you end up just making music for an algorithm. Creating a song that will do well on streaming service algorithms or playlists doesn't necessarily mean selling your soul to the 4-chord devil or doing the weird wiggle wobble dance. There are a ton.
The wiggle wobble dance, that's what Squidward does, right? Oh man, I really wanted my music in the popular Friday playlist.
Of micro and niche playlists out there that are probably a perfect fit for your music, and it's just a matter of getting in those ears in the first place. This might mean working on a track that hits a larger playlist to get you discovered first. It might mean putting in some legwork and sending some DMs. It might mean using Submit Hub to have a bunch of people tell you that your track sucks, but that's just the way that the world works, and that's part of the music business. And as an independent artist, that unfortunate task of marketing and promotion is your job. The unfortunate and ugly unspoken truth of it all is that other people aren't responsible.
Does he really only have one monitor?
For your success, and
Yikes, couldn't be me.
you aren't entitled to their time or attention. If you want to get your music out there and heard, you have to work on getting it out there to be heard, and the best way to do that might be just to share your work.
Very cool. Yeah, I think he definitely has, he's actually making a pretty good point here about how playlisting and TikTok and all that. I don't even know if TikTok is actually having an effect on it, but playlisting is definitely having an effect on people making a lot of similar music, because that's the only type of music that'll be accepted, is if it fits into some sort of subgenre or some sort of vibe that all is already part of the playlist. And the only way to get plays on Spotify is through playlists or algorithms, which suggest similar things. So it's basically just this like never ending, I don't even know what you call it, like a dog eating its tail or whatever. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but it's basically just, it's a loop. So like, I think it's a lot harder for original music to get out there now. I think like the only hope at the moment for that is maybe TikTok, because then it's more so dictated by, I mean, there's an algorithm still obviously, but it's not categorized in the playlist, at least from my knowledge about TikTok. An audio algorithm that would promote original music sounds like a nigh impossible utopia. Yeah, it doesn't sound possible to me either, because like, how would it know it's different, right? Without listening to it. And at that point, like, I feel like you just need a human to be able to tell. You got to sell mixtapes outside the gas station to get discovered. I mean, honestly, Spotify beats that by a long shot, for sure. Okay, that was a good video.
The Band Incorporated.